Another completely different font. There's payback ... I like the logo because you can read it from a distance. Most of the times nowadays, I don't know how you guys feel when you see a comic book logo and you have to kind of squint, turn your head like a dog, and go, what is it? Oh, it says Spider-Man. Okay, good.
Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, anytime you can sort of like exorcise the demons from your childhood on a comic book cover, it's absolutely great. When you get to work, you guys love when you work on something that you enjoy as a child, and as a grown-up you get to go, well, this isn't as much fun as when I was 10. This is actually work. This was just I was doing a bunch of Star Wars covers for Dark Horse, and this is another one of those examples. You were talking earlier about the interiors not matching the cover, or vice versa. And they told me, they said, okay, we want you to do this Boba Fett cover. It's going to be awesome. And the story starts out, picture this, Boba Fett dragging a crate across the desert. In the crate, the body of a man. And they said it's going to have a real Sergio Leone, good, the bad, the ugly feel. And I was like, oh, awesome. I'm going to do golden browns and really make this cover, like, really warm. And, like, I got the comic, and it takes place on a tree planet. Green is the only thing in the book. It starts off with Boba Fett ordering a soda or something. And I was just like, well, thank you, job well done. I think this one suffers from, like, I don't think there's this much writing in the interior. It's like Star Wars, Boba Fett, right man for the wrong job, overkill, my signature UPC box, and somewhere in there happens to be an image as an extra added bonus. Okay, Power Girl cover. This is a great example of, you guys ever just get nailed by a deadline and you're like, okay, I actually have like 2 days. I have 2 days to hand something in. And I knew I couldn't do something really very good in the amount of time that I had allotted. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do that's visually arresting, maybe eye-catching? So I just decided to do this thing where she's standing in the shadow of the logo, and it's one of those things where, ever seen a photograph of somebody where the exposure's not quite right, so the part of them that's in shadow is properly exposed, but everything else is kind of washed out. I thought it would be kind of neat because she has a white costume to go ahead and do that. This is an interesting thing where I want to go slap the monkeys in production at DC, and I love them, but they are monkeys. Because when I designed the cover, I actually had the logo down, like in front of the crown of her head a little bit. Like she actually literally was underneath a physical three-dimensional logo, and that's what's casting the shadow across her face and the upper part of her torso. And the production guys were like, well, obviously Adam doesn't want that. It's touching her head. So they moved it up there, and they put Flawless on it, which I think just is kind of ironic, because I was like, you ruined it! But this is one of those things where, like, Teddy Roosevelt said, you do what you can with what you have and the time you have. And this was me trying to make a visually arresting cover in like the span of 2 or 3 days.
The character of Power Girl was initially designed by a man named Joe Orlando, who was an editor at DC. The guy who set her look in the early issues was the inker of the book, Wally Wood. And I was up at the DC offices, I think the day he handed in his 3rd or 4th issue of All-Star Comics, in which he appeared. And everyone was talking about how her breasts were getting larger issue by issue. And I mentioned this to Mr. Wood, and he said, yes, that's conscious. I'm going to see how long I can do it before they stop me.
That's 100% true, because I worked with Wally's assistant, Keith Giffen, many years later on Justice League, and Keith related that story, and he said, for the record, it was 9 issues.
Keith was there when Wally said it to me.
Yep. All right. And to be honest, every time one of us draws Power Girl, every one of us at DC that knows that story, we're actually, I'm far enough away from puberty, I don't need to draw them that big. But we sit there and go, take your hat off for Wally and go, we're gonna swing for the fences when you get to that part of Power Girl, just because he had the nerve and the mendacity to do that.
How about this one?
It'd be great if you could see my damn zombie. This was the final issue to Catwoman, and actually came out a year after the book got canceled. The last issue of Catwoman was '82, and for the whole Blackest Night thing, they called up all these people and said, we're going to be doing the final issues of all these books. And, hey, that's kind of cool. You get to do one more Catwoman cover. I was like, woo, I'm excited. They said, it's going to have a zombie on it. I was like, awesome, I've never gotten to draw a zombie. I am 42 years old, and I've never gotten to draw a zombie. You know, and I got to draw in October of 2009, so I had zombie movies on TV, like the leaves were falling. It was like the best month to be working on this cover. And then of course they covered it up with like, you know, this sort of candy wrapper Blackest Night logo, and I was like, oh, fail. But it was a lot of fun, and I have a problem a lot of times because I like to go really dark with my covers, and not in a sort of a thematic way. I just, on a DC comic books cover, we have what's called an ink threshold. It's how much ink you can have. Everybody knows that comic books are printed with cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and you can have percentages of those adding up to the number 280, and I'm always banging my head on 300, I'm on 320, and the production guys are, you are killing us. Printers in Canada are cursing my name, and on this one, we were really concerned that it was going to go really dark, but I was like, I really kind of liked her popping out of the darkness and the zombie barely being there, but you know, DC production really helped because with that logo over his head, he's really barely there. I'm not bitter at all. Oh, no, it completely sucks. It's got a word balloon. That was just, there was this period where DC kept calling me up going, we want you to do variant covers. Have you guys done a lot of variant covers? And it's like, I don't know whether to feel honored that we're doing a variant cover or whether it's like, well, you're not good enough for the real cover. They said, could you just do a Black Canary cover? And the nice thing about sticking with one company for a long time is you really engender a sense of trust. DC Comics really trusts me at this point because they know they can say, look, just hand in a cover. We know you're not going to hand in a cover of like, you know, Catwoman, Blow and Robin or something. I'm going to do that the day I quit, actually. Don't post that, that's my actual plan. And they said, could you do a Black Canary cover for Justice League? And I said, okay, what would you like on it? I said, do whatever you want, we know you'll do a swell job, just go ahead and do it. And I'm a big fan when doing covers of, primarily because I suck at action. Every time I try to draw action, I go, you know, Gil Kane would have done this better, Walt Simonson would have knocked this out of the park. When I do action, it just looks like somebody going, ow, quit it, stop, Batman, get off, you know. So I'm a big fan of what I call the pregnant moments, and that's like the moment right before something happens or the moment right after something happens. And I said to them, how much blood can I put on this cover? And they said, as much as you want. You know, we're on the cusp of the 21st century. So they let me do it, and I actually put the word balloon there on myself.